And also, speaking of Trump, I just want to get your take on what's going on with the Trump administration, with all the shakeups in the communication department, with the press secretary, and also his chief of staff leaving, and his issue with Sessions. What's your take on this whole thing with the administration?
I told you this some months ago. We were talking, I think, off the record.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what is going on is that Trump, not being a Republican, but being a lifetime independent, has co-opted the Republican Party. To gain their support, I think he is appointing those people that the GOP wanted appointed. He gave them what they wanted, but he's going to slowly get rid of them or marginalize them or pigeonhole them, so he will be running everything.
Wow.
So I think, unlike some of the other presidents, he really has a problem with megalomania. And he will be trying to get the reins of power in his hands.
So could he last 2 years 2 terms? Could he actually last 2 terms thinking like that or trying to do those things?
Well, yeah, he will. Do you think, what do you think? Let me just ask this. You see, one thing, too, you have to understand.
Mm-hmm.
CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, they aren't in touch with what a lot of people call flyover country. You know, you look down out of the window of a 757 from 35,000 feet as you're flying over what you're flying over.
Mm-hmm.
See, every time they attack Trump, they unify that group behind it. Now, do you think that group's going to vote for Kamala Harris?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
All right. How many of the people that don't particularly like Trump will like her less?
I mean, she's an empty suit. I mean, she's like Obama from like some years ago, but Obama had more charisma or something. I think people would still voted for Obama a third term, actually.
They might have.
Mm-hmm.
They might have. But the fact is, see, a lot of it's illusion. Like Obamacare, he didn't draft it.
No, of course.
It was Republican Senate Majority Leader Dr. Bill Frist from the state of Tennessee, whose family founded Blue Cross and Blue Shield, who drafted Obamacare.
And it's not going anywhere anytime soon, right? It's not going anywhere.
Couldn't get it passed. And you know what you're looking at
Right.
in all of this confusion? Behind closed doors, the Republicans just found out, oh, hell. You mean our guys came up with that? And, yeah, this is how much they put together to donate to your last 2 campaigns? Oh, hell. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, hell, I'll have to vote against it. And by the way, there's a regularly scheduled increase coming up that a lot of people won't like in it. It needs reform, but what the best thing for the country would be is a single payer source if you didn't have your own insurance, a.k.a. the U.S. government.
Now, that's socialism, though. People don't want no socialism. They don't want that.
Oh, but they have it. They just don't know it, and they don't get anything from it. I had a big income at one time when I had this show, and we got the socialistic benefits. If you're rich, you get them.
The irony of it all.
Yeah. If you're middle class, you don't get it.
Even the Congress people get good health care benefits. Get great health care benefits.
You know what the difference is between socialism and what people think they want?
What's the difference?
Under socialism, you get the money directly. Under the other thing, the rich get it and it trickles down to you if any of it's left.
Obama tried to push for single payer, but the people, like even his own party, was against. Like Senator Ben Nelson from Nebraska.
Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really. Why did he push a Republican Senator Bill Frist bill? If you look at Obama's history, starting in 2006,
Mm-hmm.
2007, he supported Bill Frist. Just about every bill Bill Frist was trying to push, Obama supported. The Heritage Foundation, that right-wing reactionary think tank, gave him an A rating on conservative votes. They gave him their third highest rating.
Obama?
Yes.
Wow.
100 U.S. senators, and they gave him 97.
So really, Obama is a Trojan horse. He's a political Trojan horse.
Exactly.
Mm.
The Heritage Foundation is a bunch of reactionary gooks.
Mm.
Geeks, or whatever I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him the third highest rating in the U.S. Senate. There were only 2 people they rated higher.
Mm.
So you got 100 senators, and he was the 97th most conservative. There were 96 less conservative than him in the whole U.S. Senate, based on how he voted.
Wow.
So you don't know what you get.
Wow.
Because people don't pay attention, and the media doesn't care because they've got another agenda.
Well, I mean, actually, speaking of the media and stuff and perception and illusion, what is the thing? I know John McCain, he got this, I guess, extreme form of brain cancer or whatever, but it's like they're trying to rewrite the narrative of John McCain being a hero. From my understanding, he was a traitor. I mean, he gave up secrets. I know he was tortured and whatnot, but it's funny how they doing this hero worship of John McCain. But what are your thoughts on John McCain, the senator?
Well, he put himself voluntarily in a position where he'd get shot at.
Mm-hmm.
He did do some individual heroics when there was a fire on board the deck of his aircraft carrier, and he had to jump out of a plane, help save some people on deck. He didn't have to do that. He's sufficiently heroic. He didn't panic. He didn't punk out. So what difference does it make? He was there. He got shot at. He went down in flames, bailed out. You know, that's balls enough for anybody. And a lot of folk wouldn't last too long under torture anyway.
You know, he gave up secrets. I mean, he was pardoned by Nixon or covered by Nixon. So that was treasonous what he did according to their laws. I mean, according to, like, you know, what they do.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And with today's media, you can't tell.
Mm. Okay.
They'll get a scoundrel set up as a hero. Look at Ronald Reagan.
Something about Reagan, man. Wow. Yeah.
I despise the Reagan administration. I think he was too brain dead to do much personally.
So really, the Bush, right? Bush Senior.
Done to the American public under his administration than in any practically in the 20th century.
So you think it's more about George Bush the elder doing the damage, George H.W. Bush having basically 12 years in the White House?
I think the most damaging president that's ever been in the White House, at least in the 20th century, was St. Ron the Reagan.
Mm. Wow.
Well, let's look at a partial list.
Okay.
Osama bin Laden is supposed to be the villain.
Mm-hmm.
That's responsible for 9/11.
Right.
Why would he do that? Well, L.A. Times in their morgue reported, you can still get it, I think, through there, but they reported contemporaneously with events that Osama bin Laden was the middleman who arranged the transfer of money and the Stinger missiles that went to the so-called Afghanistan freedom fighters who were in conflict with the Soviets. And that was against federal law, and the Reagan administration could have been badly embarrassed by the president being impeached for violation of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Signed 3 executive orders. So Ollie North was a scapegoat. he got off on a technicality, and they came up with the term plausible deniability to claim that Reagan plausibly denied that he knew anything about, but he did. But I submit to you, they tried to kill off Osama bin Laden. That pissed him off, and years later, he was out to get us. By the way, why in the devil do you go execute the man if you pull off a successful raid when you can capture him, bring him back just like you did his dead body, keep him on an aircraft carrier for months, interrogate the devil out of him, and find out all you wanted to know, then put him through a trial, ask for the death penalty, and get all of the benefits you could get out of that. Why? Because he might talk and tell what he knew.
I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan would not have been Saint Ronald Reagan. He would have been just another dead scoundrel.
Yeah. Well, why did that Noriega live, though? Because he was good friends with the Bush family.
Oh, yeah. He talked, didn't he? Didn't he talk?
No, I don't think he talked. No. Pineapple Face
he did.
He did talk, but they didn't kill him, though. They didn't kill him?
Yeah. But he told on all of those drug deals that he made.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. It's insanity. But a lot of people are not aware. It's just like with Barry Seal, the CIA pilot who was flying in drugs from the South America to Mena, Arkansas, while Bill Clinton was governor. People don't really know about that, even though we got the World Wide Web and whatnot.
Oh, there's a lot. See, the media is driven by making money. How do they make money? Commercial advertisers buy advertising space or time. So they want what brings in viewers so that their commercial advertisers will advertise with them.
Wow.
So it's entertainment. You aren't getting news.
Yes, sir. Wow. Well,
you're getting entertainment.
Yes, sir. You're right. Like you said, like the Julius Caesar quote, bread and circuses, right?
Exactly. And like Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda for the Nazis, said, a lie told one time is a lie. Told 1,000 times, it is the truth. He further went on, tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anybody to believe it.
They're like, you remember that movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Vance, I think it's called?
Yeah.
They said when the legend becomes a fact, print the legend, something like that. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just myth making.
Speaking of which, I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. Where did it come from?
Was that a reggae song?
Yeah. Where'd it come from?
I don't know. I mean, who sung it?
I think it was Bob Marley, don't we?
Right. I thought it was somebody else, right? I was about to say Bob Marley.
But it wasn't.
Who?
You just said that was for Liberty Valance, the old movie, black and white cowboy movie.
Okay. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. All right. Excellent.
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
Wow. And also, Judge, I want to actually just say, like, a lot of black hetero males are under attack. Like, being a black male heterosexual is a dangerous thing in this society for whatever reason. I know I had listened to an interview by a rapper and a businessman named Rick Ross, the rapper, and he said basically that he would not ever hire a female rapper because he would like to have sex with her because of all the investment and time he would put into her. He think he'll, want to have sex with her. He couldn't respect her as just being another employee. And they got a lot of backlash from the social media. And since that time, he has apologized. And so what are your thoughts about his comments about, not, hiring female rappers because he'll want to have sex with them?
Being honest.
Okay.
He's exempt from Title VII because he doesn't have more than 15 employees the way he's putting it out. And guess what? The gay crowd do that too. They got a casting couch now, but it's boy on boy and girl on girl, or girl on boy's wife.
You know, when you said that, I was thinking about a friend of mine.
Let me say something real nice. I was
Mm-hmm.
knowledge for 15 years. My headquarters was at a place we nicknamed the Plantation. It's at the KTLA Channel 5 studios that's on Sunset Boulevard right before you get to the 101.
Mm.
And in those headquarters, they renovated them and they took down all the sheet rock. We were surprised to discover that there were stairwells leading down to a secret underground set of underground passages. And they had yellowed paper up there with tape that was coming loose. And the chief of the studio at that time, when it was originally one of the second Warner Brothers studio back in the 20s, was Cecil B. DeMille, was the great director. Remember? You ever heard of it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. There were directions on going through these tunnels to get the stairs that led up to the bungalows where the starlets like Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, and Hedda Berra could be found. So he could go screw them. That's been going on in the entertainment industry for a long time. A whole lot of stars and starlets gave up the booty to get the part.
Right.
It's just nowadays it's gay boys looking for gay boys, or gays looking for boys, and not appearing gay if they've got wives, or female executives getting toasty with some of the female executives, and all kinds of crazy ways around. So that goes on in the industry. He's just being honest about it.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up about all this stuff going on, because it was a former R&B star, a little minor R&B star named Bobby Valentino. He got caught running away from the apartment of a transgender woman that he owed money to, and so that's made the rounds of social media. He's a black R&B singer. He was caught literally with his pants down, running away from this transgender woman that he owed money to, leaving his keys and shoes behind. And I want to ask this question, like, do you feel that it is necessary for a transgender woman to tell her potential lover that she used to be a man, or whatever they classify themselves as? What do you think about that?
I think it would be the fair thing to do. See, again, is everybody right? But then look at what they're doing in California right now. Third grade students, they show them animations, and one of the animations they show the kids says, "My big brother likes to dress up like a girl. He likes to go out to clubs and dance. He likes to fool other boys into thinking he's a girl. He has fun. This is okay."
Wow.
That's what they show third grade kids.
Man.
They don't even know what that implies, but it's supposed to be okay.
And also, I heard they couldn't identify, like some places I started in kindergarten, that you could not identify a boy as a boy or a girl as a girl, but as scholars. You can't call them boys or girls, but just scholars. Something like that.
Well, they're in California again, as per state law. They're sending home these brochures telling the parents, please don't try to gender identify your child. Let them reserve that for later when they can make the choice themselves. So you are instructed, please don't say stuff like, act like a man, young son, act like a man. Or men don't act like that. You're not supposed to say that.
So,
or act like a lady.
So is this the end of the human race as we know it? Like, we don't procreate, like you talked about earlier. Is this the end of the species? Like, are we basically helping ourselves to get eliminated from the from the planet?
Well, see, one of the problems today, and this is also why the general public would not go for anybody like a Feinstein, or they didn't go for a Hillary, or they wouldn't go for Kamala Harris, is they associate that kind of nonsense with them. Just that you spoke right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, See, there are a whole lot of women that go put something nice on because there's a certain guy that they want to make an impression on. And if the guy says, oh, that looks pretty, you look really nice, they blush and they're pleased.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them get offended. You know, men are supposed to open the doors for women. I had women out in Hollywood got offended if I opened the door for them.
Mm.
Okay, you get mad because Trump said, you look really nice today, dear, but that's supposed to be insulting. Other women would enjoy that. See, like I said earlier, you don't know what the devil's going on anymore.
Mm. Wow.
So, you know, you can't tell. It's like first thing I tell anybody, if you get out to Hollywood and you're straight, be aware of the fact that since 85 to 90% of everybody out there is not straight, they're going to try to make moves. You just have to make it known that you don't go that way. But, you know, be careful around those women, because if you look cross-eyed at one, they want to file a complaint about you did something wrong.
There's a lot of pretty women out there in LA, gorgeous women in California. Oh, all types.
But look what they're trying to make up as the new image for black women. They're overweight, they're unattractive.
Hmm.
And see, they always use us, black folk, to be the trial balloon.
Well, we fall for it almost all the time.
Just get out on black folk.
Mm-hmm.
Get away with it.
Wow.
See, like, we've been really weirded out. For example, for the first half of the 20th century, most civil rights law advances that black people got were behind the SPCA laws. What do I mean? Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal laws. The theory was, as if you couldn't do it to a dog, you couldn't do it to a black man. And then Jewish people got behind us. That's what the NAACP was about. If you couldn't do it to a dog, you couldn't do it to a Negro, you couldn't do it to a Negro, you couldn't do it to a Jew.
Wow.
See, we're always getting somebody to adopt us to advance their cause. Like LGBT has adopted Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Well, Judge, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we end this wonderful conversation? I know there's a lot of great feedback.
I want to touch on that one more. There's a picture that goes around. There are some cops in riot gear, and they got some down, righteous-looking brothers, you know, in their paraphernalia, and they're identified as Black Panthers. And they look masculine, and they look like they're not going to take anything, and the police have backed off. And then right in the middle, they got a big, overweight sister with a bullhorn trying to look like she's in charge of these brothers, and this is all her doing.
Right.
See, the media set that up deliberately. That's not the way it works.
And, you know, you got me thinking, Judge, as well, too. I want to ask you about that Minnesota case with a white woman from Australia got killed by the Somali cop. Well, what are your take on that, the response, the reaction? What's your take on that?
They have scared people on police departments that have no business being cops. And
yeah,
I'm going to be a little bit xenophobic about, not xenophobic, but I'm going to be a little bit cold-blooded about it. He was from Somalia. He wasn't any real down-home brother. He didn't grow up around this. See, so you put him in that white category because his experience in life was not ours.
Yeah, there's a lot of Somalis up in Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis. I know I went to the airport.
You go to Minneapolis, and it's a melting pot. Probably one of the biggest melting pots in America. But they have lots of problems.
Yeah, definitely. But it just sounds weird, the narrative, though. Like, she in the alleyway, and he reached across his partner to shoot her. That don't even sound right.
No, he punked out.
Okay.
This woman that shot that guy that was trying to get help for a car problem
in Oklahoma.
got off. Even Trump said she punked out.
Mm. Wow.
You know, some people want to be more than they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they get positions like being cops and stuff like that. Judges, too.
Yeah.
Prosecutors, particularly, because they want to cloak themselves in the authority of the office because they lack that personal authority.
Mm.
And a lot of people want to be stuff like cops because they're trying to prove to themselves that they're okay or they're tough.
Mm-hmm.
Got another thing that I find interesting. Some vets are joining the police departments around the country. And they weren't the kind of vets that were in the infantry, armor, artillery. They didn't ride in helicopters, and they weren't on the sharp edge of the spear, taking fire and doing it. They just wish they could have, so they come back to be cops, and they want to prove something, and they say, now I can get some action.
All right.
And then when the action is not there, they want to make it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they overreact. They're scared. Be careful. They're twitching.
Yeah, I noticed some cops like that when I've been stopped several times before. I just keep my cool and try to survive the encounter. But what about veterans who've seen active duty and are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder? Should they be allowed to be cops?
I would hazard to make a wager you won't find too many of them trying to become cops.
Right.
You know why?
Why?
You talk to him and he said, I've had enough of it.
Mm.
Unless he got to liking it. I know one guy, friend of mine, he's retired, he's a vet, he did several tours in the Nam. He also was on, not locally, but on another police department SWAT team. He actually shot a number of people in Vietnam where he saw them cleanly, could see them smile, grin, grimace, light a cigarette, look right in their eye, pull the trigger. He's just like that. He's a friend. But now he's a cold-blooded guy. See, killing folk is hard for most people. But it gets easier after the first one. For some people, it gets a little too easy. Now, that's another case.
So would you label him a psychopath or sociopath, or just what would be his label?
Well, it depends on where he is. In some places where he might be, he's the man of the hour. You need him.
Right.
You ever heard of Greenland?
Greenland? No, sir.
I mean, the subcontinent.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. There is a guy named Eric. He was a Viking. They thought he was a homicidal maniac, and they nicknamed him Eric the Red.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? He's responsible for one of those islands getting settled by Scandinavians. He had a son named Leif, known as Leif Erikson. This homicidal maniac that the Vikings thought was too violent, thought his son Leif was too violent and banned him. He settled the other island, Leif Erikson. They're famous to history.
Wow.
They've got a statue here in Memphis of a president of the United States, Andrew Jackson. If he were alive now, he'd probably be in the penitentiary. He challenged people to a lot of duels, killed some folk, and when he was a general with the U.S. Army in the Seminole Wars that were also known as the Colored Wars in the American War Department's records, he was famous for taking women and children and locking them up in wooden stockades and then burning them to death.
Wow.
He got off on it. He was a drunk, and he was a homicidal maniac, but he was president. So we honor him.
On the $20 bill.
Yeah, you're on $20 bill, and they have a statue of him right in front of the courthouse downtown Memphis.
He was one of the founders of Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, it's Wild Bill Hickok, Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp, we know him and the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday. They're the good guys, right?
Right.
OK Corral. They got tried for murder for that.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Got acquitted.
But you wouldn't want no Wyatt Earp to be a police officer today, considering police brutality or whatnot. What he did to OK Corral.
Yeah, you might have that problem. But I think not so much the Wyatt Earp kind who would stand out there, draw down, when it's, evenly matched up. These folk are just cowards and they're scared. Not all, but some of them.
Yeah. No, Wyatt Earp never got wounded at all. I mean, he got shot at, clothes got shot through, but he was never wounded while he was in these battles with people. Gun duel.
Yeah. Now, two of his brothers got shot. One of them got killed.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a punk.
No, he lived a long time, too. He lived a long time because he was around movies and stuff, Hollywood.
Yeah, he died at his typewriter. With his boots on, working on a hot literary piece for the newspaper in Chicago.
Right. So it's like, would you telling me it's better to be judged by 60 to be carried by 12? I mean, judged by 12 than to be carried by carried by 6. Yeah.
See, what we call dysfunction in one time period, one circumstance, can be a criminal in another.
Yeah. But you know what's funny about black people, about us, I was just thinking about this the other day, is that we celebrate the 4th of July like nobody else. Like we celebrate Thanksgiving like nobody else. And these are holidays that really honor white supremacists, rapists, murderers, like homicidal maniacs. But yeah, we come conflicted when it comes to people like Bill Cosby or R. Kelly or people like that. But we celebrate all these other folks on our dollar bills and stuff like that who were slave owners and homicidal maniacs. Yeah. Even Christopher Columbus. Come on now.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
Christopher Columbus was an Italian. He was a horrible administrator.
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish thought he was a little bit of a whack job.
I can only imagine.
But it's like, okay, I'll take one of my grandfathers. He was a physician.
Mm-hmm.
His name was William Dorsey. He died up in Jackson, Tennessee, 1952. Old man, born before the Civil War.
Wow.
Practiced medicine up there for a long time. He and Alex Haley's grandfather used to practice medicine together in Jackson, Tennessee.
Mm.
But before that, before what the census listed him as coming from Mississippi, he actually ran off from Shreveport, Louisiana, because he and his brother, rather cold-bloodedly murdered several deputy sheriffs for participating in the lynching of one of their brothers. So
wow.
Old Doc Dorsey had got his bones. He killed some people, not with the scalpel wrong, but gunned them down.
So this is your grandfather, right? It's like some Unforgiven stuff. It's like some Western movie. It should be a movie.
Yes. So, I mean, it all depends.
Doc Dorsey. He got a great name, like Doc Holliday. But he was a real doctor, though. They call him Doc Dorsey. That's a hell of a name.
Yeah. My grandfather was a real doctor. Everybody loved Doc Dorsey. But he got his bones, and those two weren't the only two he got.
Wow.
See, back in the day, there were some times when we took matters in our own hands. We were famous, or not famous, but, plantation owners and others, stayed up late at night worrying about, the cook or the butler putting some ground glass off in somebody's food.
Right. Ain't that something? Wow. And Judge, you got so many books in you, it's ridiculous. You need to write your history. Your autobiography. Is that coming out anytime soon?
Well, it won't be an autobiography, but yeah, I'm working on it. In fact, I was right before we spoke. But, see, it all depends.
Mm-hmm.
But, I can tell you this. See, you can get at a point in your manhood and in your development where you are comfortable with yourself. If it hits the fan, you'll make a stand.
Right.
At one point before you get tried, and some people never have occasions in their lives to test them on this, but it's until you get tested, it's okay, if it all hits the fan, will I be a man and be able to do what I got to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or will I run? Once you find out you don't run, you say, okay, I'm comfy with this.
I like that. I like that.
And see, you see a lot of old folk, they've done some things that you'll never hear about.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's something, man. But if Doc Dorsey didn't do what he did, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Well, yeah. But I'm not telling on myself, but I've had my moments. I mean, even practicing law.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember one thing out here in the provinces. I got an injunction cleared on something, and I can remember when we went down to get this land cleared away, the people that got offended were there. The sheriff showed up. At the time the sheriff showed up, I had a 357 in one hand, 45 in the other. And like, sheriff, the papers are on the hood of the truck over there. Look in the briefcase.
Wow.
Oh, you guys, hold on here. What's going on? Jesus Christ Almighty, what y'all doing?
Wow.
It's like that's just something I can talk about. But you see, you didn't flinch when you got 12 gauges. Somebody's gonna die besides you.
Yeah.
Or you gonna try. It'll be a good. We got a Mexican standoff here, to use that term.
Yep. You just try. If you got to go, just take something with you. That's all.
No, but see, some people never in their lives will have experiences like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you a tested man? What are you gonna do? See, a tested man starts talking about something. I listen to him. Man, look, I don't think youngster, I don't think you need to be messing with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong person. Speaking of which, did you see that thing they captured on the video? This old guy's on the bus.
Oh yeah, the young guy.
Punk go off, and he whipped him.
Yeah, cause you know who he was messing with. Probably a Vietnam vet at that too. I think.
So it wasn't a particularly good ass, behind whipping, but
enough.
He did it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like you said, like, so when I'm gonna ask you this: if a person has never been tested in their life like that, had that man moment, does that mean they have not lived a full life or fulfilling life?
Yeah, that's about it. Unfortunately, modern circumstances prevent that. I know there are a whole lot of people that get offended by that. But if you haven't had to stand and deliver, hey, I feel sorry for you. And then particularly with these kids these days, see, they get taught, there's a bully, don't bust him in his mouth, which is what we got told. You need to learn how to do it. I'll get you some boxing lessons.
Mm-hmm.
My old man gave me boxing lessons. He used to box as an amateur, so he showed me how to do it. And I started taking martial arts, which I've done for 50-some years. But,
Wow. Judge, you are a man's man for real. Definitely. I mean,
well, I tell you this nothing came out of it. Just a few years ago, I'm in a 5-star restaurant club up in Aspen. There was a big New Zealand guy up there. I thought he was high off some drugs. He started shoving women around, trying to rip their blouses open so he could look at the boobs.
What the hell?
So he's about to grab my wife. So somebody blocked his blow when he went to swing at her. And then I grabbed him, put some moves on him, got him down on the ground, choked him out.
What the hell was wrong with him?
Bubbling. split up. And I said, "Now I'm really gonna do something to you. You out of here." So that I was an old man. I was over 65 years old then.
What was wrong? Did they ever find out what the hell his problem was?
Yeah, he'd been doing some drugs.
And you put that move on. Wow, wow. So were you
Yes,
afraid?
I did.
I mean, were you afraid to do it? I mean, I ain't talking about afraid, like, tell like you was afraid of the guy, but like you was able to, you trust yourself enough to pull it off. So
Yeah.
Okay.
My main thought is after I got to thinking about it, I said, "Oh man, I hope we don't get any National Enquirer bad press off it."
Right.
I wasn't worried about him. I was rather enjoying it.
I wish somebody had took film of that. As much as people be filming stuff with their cameras.
Man, I used to get I was giggling, on the show sometimes. See, some of the stuff they cut, but some got in there. But a lot of times, they used to say, "When you get through with your verdict, jump up and walk." I said, "No, I'm not walking out of there. If I give a verdict on you, I'm gonna eyeball you. You don't like it, hey, I'm right here. This is Hollywood folks. You ain't got an armed guard up in here, but one. You think you can get into me? Let's go."
Yes, sir.
That'd be a freebie. But see, when I was coming up, I can remember, I hadn't too long started practicing law, and I remember one judge and one old lawyer, they were getting rather feisty with each other. So they agreed to meet up behind one of these pubs that used to be over here where the criminal justice center is. So these old guys get out there and they got to duking it out, a judge and a lawyer.
Wow.
Everybody was standing around until somebody said, "Y'all gonna have a heart attack." So they shook hands, went in and bought everybody beer.
That's amazing.
Or I can remember one judge, it's back in the 70s. I get off the elevator up there at the top of the city court house when it used to be the old police complex. And one judge said, "Lawyer Brown, you got $50 in your pocket?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do. Can I borrow it? Because I'm going to bust this SOB right in his mouth right here. I need it for bond."
Wow.
But see, men used to be men. Now somebody gets to running around shrieking in terror, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
about going toe to toe. Some fools talking about popping a cap because he didn't get any man training.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. You compare and contrast some of these women. They more hard. They got more man in them than a lot of these guys do.
Oh,
when it comes to fighting.
See, a lot of that's just crazy violence. See, we have rules.
Man,
it used to be, man, you didn't beat him. Yes, I did. No, man, you sucker punched him, man. He'd whip that behind if it was a straight up righteous fight, man. Oh, man, no, man, we all saw it, man. That wasn't no fair fight. A fight fair, fight like a man, mandatory 8-count, Marquis Queensberry's rules of boxing, manly art of self-defense. You got 10,000 folk trying to slaughter each other, and the white flag goes up, and everybody stops. Right a parlay, rules of war crimes, Geneva Convention. See, men ritualize violence. When you don't have man training, you forget about that.
Yes, sir.
See, a lot of this punk play in the neighborhood about the drive-by, it's just punk play. It's like they watch their mamas get mad, let it stew in them, and then 6 weeks after they got mad at the next-door neighbor, try to pour boiling grits and molasses over them or some battery acid. That's what a lot of these drive-bys are for. Like I had people would get up, "Well, why didn't you just fight him?" "What, me? I'm too fine, yo. I ain't gonna get up there and get my pretty face all messed up. I got ladies to please. Yeah, I tried to pop a cap on him."
Mm.
So you just a punk. You don't know what it is to stand toe to toe. And as far as putting yourself at risk on a drive-by, that isn't about being man. What that's all about is you just want to die. You're trying to get somebody to do you the favor of killing you. And you're just trying to provoke them.
Mm. That's deep.
See, it's all kinds of stuff about being a man that aren't obvious. It's like it becomes your pleasure to die for a righteous cause. It becomes your pleasure to have a righteous fight. It becomes your pleasure to make a stand. See, it becomes your pleasure to stand back and, be in control of yourself, or to have tested yourself, or to have no doubts or lingering, fears that you're going to do something. To understand what it is to be nervous enough for your knees to shake, but yeah, you're going to do it anyway, and you did it.
Yeah, that's something. I've been there
That's
before.
part of being a man.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the righteous thing. In other words, you've been taught that this kind of thing is good, so when you do it, you feel pleasure.
Mm.
These are manly things, but they don't get taught that these days. And see, the interesting thing about that is when you teach boys to be men and learn how to fight, and they put rules on it, they don't shoot up the business because somebody fired them and they went postal. They don't go shoot up a playground or a school full of kids. See, you can get it now if you're in the full contact martial arts. Okay, you overcame the fear of getting a behind whipping, get some teeth loosened up, bloody lip.
Right.
You played football, not so much basketball. I mean, that's not a full contact sport. You do boxing. Boxers are cool. They've sat down and done it. Football players are okay. They've done it. Rugby players are okay. They've done it.
Mm.
You see, it's like when you put yourself where it's a physical battle against somebody and there's going to be full force contact, that's a test. May not be like getting shot at, but at least you get an idea. But see, we don't even let these boys get that these days.
Wow.
It's like in the military, you want somebody for a hazardous mission, even if they haven't been shot at, somebody that's airborne. They jumped out of an airplane. They jump out of an airplane. They likely have balls enough to do certain other things too.
Mm. I hear you, Judge. Well, I just want to thank you once again for your wisdom that you shared with us. I mean, time really do fly when we have these conversations, and people are very much appreciative of what you have been putting out there as a dedicated public servant by different platforms and medium. So I just want to thank you once again, Judge. In the words of Great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Yeah, and I might be back on TV before too long, so keep a lookout for that. And young brothers out there, when you get my age, it makes all of the slings and arrows you put up with worthwhile when you can look back and say, I did the man thing. It makes life worthwhile.
Thank you so much, Judge. We appreciate that. Words of wisdom, as always.
All right, sir. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.